A vigil for Officer Preston is planned for Tuesday here at the 5th District Police Station. This while police continue to try and determine what led up to her killing. 24-year-old Areanah Preston, a 3-year veteran of CPD, was shot and killed in her front lawn as she came home from work on Saturday morning. She died from multiple gunshot wounds. Community members came together outside the police district here asking for the public's help.
We don't know the circumstances, but we do know we lost one.
Chicago don't sleep, and someone either drove past, someone seen something, maybe they scared to say something.
Community activist Jamal Green is offering a $5,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest. Preston was set to graduate with her master's degree from Loyola University this coming weekend.
About that off-duty Chicago police officer who was shot to death this weekend on the city's south side. The 24-year-old had just finished up her shift and was heading home in Avalon Park early yesterday morning when she was killed. NBC5's Christian Farr has an update on the investigation tonight.
Chicago police detectives are continuing to investigate a case that involves the death of one of their own. Many outside of the department are trying to help, including a community activist.
And the fact that somebody would just come grab her life just like that, they need to be put to justice and held accountable immediately.
Community activist Jamal Green is offering a reward for information after off-duty Chicago police officer Areanah Preston was shot and killed early Saturday morning. Green announced the reward on social media, which he says has grown since the former candidate for mayor made that post.
Hopefully a reward can get people talking. We have a code of silence in these neighborhoods. We want people to speak up.
The shooting that took Preston's life happened at about 2 a.m. near the 100 block of South Blackstone. Officer Preston, who had only been on the force for 3 years, was shot and killed after arriving home from work. Near Soldier Field Sunday morning,
I would like for us to pause for a moment of silence to honor Officer Areanah Preston, who was tragically taken from us yesterday.
Officer Preston's name was read along with the names of other Chicago police officers who have died since December of 2021. The honor took place during the annual St. Jude March, which recognizes the sacrifice officers make to protect and serve.
Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them.
While receiving his own honor at Fellowship Chicago Church in Fuller Park, community activist Early Walker talked about Officer Preston's death and the continuing fight to end Chicago's ongoing gun violence problem.
Her death is a tragic reminder of the urgent need for action. We must honor her memory by coming together to end this crisis once and for all.
Jamal Green says that his reward has grown from $2,000 to $5,000. And ISU, where Preston graduated, issued a statement saying that Preston was a standout student filled with passion and compassion, a real force for change, and exactly the type of person you hope will enter law enforcement. Preston had also received her master's degree recently.
Speaking at a police memorial, FOP President John Catanzara had these words about the officer.
Officer Areanah Preston was a shining example, just like Andres was, of what this department can be and is. And just coming home from work, even though off duty, taking police action to save herself from becoming a victim, tragically gunned down by multiple offenders who do not give a damn about the average citizen or a police officer.
Now, Catanzara also made reference to Andres. Of course, he's speaking about Officer Andres Vasquez, who was shot and killed in a line of duty just this last March. The death of Officer Preston brings the number to 600 Chicago police officers killed in the line of duty. We're told this is hitting especially close to home for the interim police superintendent's wife. It turns out that Sadia Carter was once the high school cheerleading coach of this young officer.
We've been following some breaking news, and a SWAT situation on Chicago's South Side is now over. It ended just before 4 this morning after officers spent more than 7 hours on the scene.
Multiple police sources tell us the incident is related to the recent killing of an off-duty police officer. NBC5's Lisa Chavarria is live outside CPD headquarters with the very latest. Lisa.
Well, JC and Michelle, when we left the scene, we saw officers that were still processing that home. They were going inside. We saw them upstairs on that second floor. This was after that more than 7.5-hour SWAT situation that happened in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood. Here's what we know so far. I want you to go ahead and take a look at this. This is what we were able to capture just before 3:30 this morning. Now, the video is grainy, so we're freezing it, but you can see a person walking out into the street with their hands up. Chicago police officers and a SWAT team came to this home on Bishop and 76th in Auburn Gresham around 8:30 last night. A police source told us one person was taken into custody last night. And again, we saw another person surrender to police around 3:30 this morning. So that's about 7 hours into the SWAT situation. Now, multiple police sources tell NBC5 that this is related to the recent killing of an off-duty Chicago police officer. That officer was Ariana Preston. She was shot and killed early Saturday morning in the Avalon Park neighborhood. Police say that she was shot shortly after she had gotten off of work. This was really close to where she lived. Officer Preston had been with the Chicago Police Department for 3 years. Again, a source tells us one person was taken into custody from that SWAT situation in Auburn Gresham last night. Then we saw another person surrendering to police at 3:30 this morning. We're still waiting on an update from Chicago police.
Sources tell the I-team those 4 people have not yet been charged, and some or all are said to be juveniles. Late last night, our cameras captured the Chicago Police Department SWAT team surrounding a home near 76th and Bishop. Sources telling us this morning this is in connection to the shooting death of CPD officer Areanah Preston. CPD detectives had some cooperation from potential witnesses to the encounter with Officer Preston. Police sources have told the ABC7 I-team the witnesses helped direct investigators to 2 men and 2 women who they now have arrested following a lengthy SWAT standoff. 24-year-old Preston, a 3-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department, was shot and killed in her front lawn as she came home from work early Saturday morning. She died from multiple gunshot wounds. The circumstances around her shooting death still being investigated at this hour. The young officer was set to graduate with her master's degree from Loyola University this coming weekend. A vigil for Officer Preston is planned for tomorrow here outside the 5th District Police Station.
According to our police sources, we know 4 people are now in custody. Some of them are believed to be involved in several armed robberies in the hours leading up to Officer Preston's death. One of them was driving the car. The other is an 18-year-old who was arrested after a SWAT situation that went through the night. Now, take a look, because this is video of that scene over in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood. You can see dozens of officers and lots of squad cars at 77th and Bishop. The hours-long standoff started around 8:30 last night and wrapped up just before 4:30 this morning. Police sources tell us an 18-year-old was taken into custody shortly after leaving that home. Again, we are still working to gather more information from Chicago police and from our police sources.
Some of those suspects were arrested in the backseat of an Uber Sunday night. And there's a lot to sort through here, as some of these murder suspects are also linked to at least one robbery that happened right before the shooting. As for that Uber driver, he was not physically hurt. Understandably, he was shaken up, and he explains to us how it all unfolded. This video, taken by an Uber driver who doesn't want to be identified, shows the moments after 2 of his passengers were taken into custody Sunday night around 7:30. Police reports say at least 1 passenger was wanted in connection with the murder of Chicago police officer Ariana Preston. A gun was recovered, and it's unclear if it's the same weapon used to kill Preston. The officer, who had been on the job for just 3 years, was shot and killed early Saturday morning as she returned home from a shift.
I had to just start screaming. I'm just an Uber driver. I mean, I don't know what's going on. All I saw like a minute after that was lights and police personnel jumping down from their cars, coming surrounding my car front and back with their guns pointed at my vehicle.
According to police reports, CPD surveillance teams were monitoring the murder suspect who got into an Uber near 76th and Bishop. The driver says within a minute, heavily armed officers surrounded his car. Other suspects connected to the shooting were also taken into custody near 76th and Bishop after a SWAT standoff in a building.
I'm just in shock. I'm just wondering how I kind of found myself in this kind of situation.
Police reports show the suspect arrested in the Uber was also wanted for an armed robbery that occurred early Saturday morning near 46th and Ellis. Chicago police quickly linked this red car to Preston's homicide. The car was later found torched and abandoned near 73rd and Eberhart. Now here at Chicago Police Headquarters, bunting has gone up in honor of fallen Chicago police officer Areanah Preston, and at this point, formal charges have not been announced.